Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Southern Fried. So excited you're joining us for this one as we get to talk to Chef Jeremy Lett, the head chef of Cracker Barrel, which to me is just one of the most southern places there is, from the country store to the great menu to the rocking chairs out front. You just can't beat Cracker Barrel. So the fact that I got to talk to him was really cool and an absolute pleasure. We talk a little bit about Chef Jeremy's influence growing up in the South, mainly from his grandmother, who not only had Southern staples on hand, but was also Italian, and the Italian meals she cooked were just as good. So we talk a little bit about that before his life down in Florida, which eventually led him to a career in the kitchen, which is where he is now, working for Cracker Barrel, developing recipes, new ideas, but sticking to those great Southern staples that we all know. If this is your first time listening to a Southern Fried episode, thanks so much for joining. Go leave us a review, follow us wherever you want to on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Even on our YouTube channel, you can follow along. So excited y'all are going to listen to this conversation with Chef Jeremy Lett. Now let's get on to the show. Welcome to this episode of Southern Fried. Today, we have got Chef Jeremy with us, head chef at Cracker Barrel. I got to tell y'all, I'm really, really excited for this, to get to talk to Chef Jeremy. So, Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. Pleasure to talk to you today. I know you're based in Birmingham, and that's where my story with the South starts. And I love that you're telling stories of the South, so I'm really happy to be here today.
Oh, sweet. I'm excited to hear a little bit about that. I'm kind of a Birmingham homer myself, so I'm excited to to get to hear how that is woven into your story. Usually every episode I like to kind of start and get a baseline for my guests to figure out just how Southern they really are by asking them one simple question, which I think is really good to figure that out, which is, where are you from? So you mind laying that out for us a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I was born in Brookwood Hospital, and my family lived in a little house in Chalkville. So that's where my roots start, right there in Birmingham. It's a great city.
How about that? How long were you in Birmingham? Like, was that a full life thing for you?
No, my journey's interesting. So my journey at the South starts with me leaving the South kind of early. I moved when I was 5 years old. I moved to Florida. My dad worked for Southern Bell, which later became AT&T, and they were building a bunch of houses down in Palm Bay, Florida by the Kennedy Space Center. So it was a good career opportunity. So we moved there when I was pretty young. But all of my family lived in Birmingham still, and some in Montgomery a little bit, but really everybody, my aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, everybody was in Birmingham or Alabama. So we always went back there during summer vacations, during holidays. It was always a return back to Birmingham. And then later in my life, I stayed in Florida, but my parents divorced and my father moved back to Alabama. He remarried, and I got a stepmother and some wonderful sisters. They all live in Alabama. My brother ended up moving back to the South. He lived in Atlanta. My mother, who I grew up with in Florida, she eventually moved back to Alabama. So my whole life has been kind of, even though I've been in Florida, I've been coming back to Birmingham or Alabama or Atlanta to see my family. So for me, the South is connected to my family from very early on.
Yeah. Okay. So you said this right at the beginning of that explanation, and I want to hear your take. You said your story starts with leaving the South, but then you said Florida. So are you one of the believers that Florida isn't really the South in itself?
Well, no, I don't want to offend my Florida people. I do think Florida is very Southern. It's a little bit different. It certainly has its own vibe to it.
Yeah.
The coastal areas, and then the heavy Spanish and Cuban influence gives Florida its own kind of flair. So, but I do still classify Florida as the South. When I said I left the South, I meant I left the deep South, I guess.
But you while you bring up Florida, graduated from the University of Florida, and I've got to tell you, I'm a Mississippi State grad, but my wife's family, we've got some Gator in us. So go Gators!
Go Gators.
You got to give you that.
Yeah, great city. Gainesville's a great town.
I love hanging out in Gainesville. You're a chef. There's a pizza place in Gainesville that I really like. It's eclectic, but it's great.
Leonardo's?
No, not Leonardo's. Okay. Like Pasquale's or something. I don't know. I'm butchering that, and they're gonna listen to this and probably give me a hard time. Anyways, go Gators.
That's right.
Big fan of them. Florida, like the University of, is that where you got your start for being in the kitchen and cooking, or was it even before that in your life?
No, no, absolutely not. I had an interesting turn. So I wasn't set out to be a chef. For
Okay.
me, early in my life, my grandmother Nina, like the center of my family life was in their home in Birmingham. They lived in Centerville, and they had a house, and on that house on the property there was a lake, and my
Yeah.
granddad would have it stocked with catfish, and we'd go out there and throw the food in there and feed the catfish and go fishing, and he'd clean them and cook them up. And then my grandmother was Sicilian, and she grew up in the South, so she had a blend of Italian and Southern cooking.
Oh, that's
But they had a
awesome.
vegetable garden, so she cooked everything fresh from the garden, and really everything was done with from scratch, attention to technique, and just really put a lot of love into her food. And
Yeah.
that's how she showed her a way she showed her love for her family was by food and cooking for them. So if you were visiting the family, you went and had either a big family breakfast or Sunday supper at Nina and Joe's house. And that was where I really fell in love with food from just a consumer standpoint, somebody who likes to eat food
Yeah.
and really love Southern food. But growing up, I didn't cook food or really have any interest in becoming a chef. I went to the University of Florida. I was going to be a college teacher. Um,
Wow.
and I stumbled into the restaurant business kind of on accident.
How was it working in restaurants? Was it just being around? What was the on accident? How'd you get there?
Yeah. So I moved from Gainesville down to Tampa. I was going to go to grad school. And I wanted to be a college teacher, but I didn't know what subject I wanted to teach. So I took some
Okay.
time off so I could figure it out before I went to grad school.
Yeah.
And I got a job at this restaurant that my roommate's boyfriend worked there. My roommate worked there. She was a server. And I got a job at this restaurant, and I really was not qualified to work at the restaurant.
Yeah.
I didn't have the kind of experience that you needed to work at like a real restaurant. I'd done like pizza and some fast food and stuff. But I knew somebody, so they got me the job. And my friend, he basically cooked he worked my station and his station. And when I walked into it, it was like I was in way over my head. I was just like,
Yeah.
everything was chaos and things were moving super fast, and everybody was speaking all this restaurant slang that I didn't understand, and
Yeah.
half Spanish, half English. And and I was awful. I was not good at all. And, but I knew even on that first night, there was something about the energy in the restaurant, the intensity, the pace of it that I really liked. And I wasn't good at it, but I knew that I wanted to be.
Sure.
So I was the worst cook on the schedule. I got the like Monday through Thursday shift from 6 p.m. to close. And that was how I got my start. And I just, I guess I started at the bottom for sure.
Oh, wow, that's so yeah, sometimes, hey, like, being baptized by fire is the way you really figure out, like, what you wanna do. Alright, I'm really curious too. I'm glad you brought up your grandmother because you also, along with working with Cracker Barrel, which obviously we're gonna get into, and I wanna just warn you as we get started, my family has requested the, Hashbrown casserole recipe, so I don't know if that we can just give that out, but
It's a good one.
that has been thrown out there. Um, but you talk about in Lineage Culinary, your website that's also what kind of like educational, learning what cooking is and all that. You talked about your grandmother's influence on your cooking. So, I mean, what was she? What was she a rock star in? What was she knocking out of the park? What do you like
Gosh,
go back and think about grandmother's recipes?
they were great. I mean, she cooked everything from scratch, and she didn't have any recipes, which is unfortunate for me
Oh,
as a recipe developer as an older age. Like I would love to have her recipe book, but she didn't have one. She would just kind of do it by feel.
yeah.
But she cooked like a lot of the Southern staples, like biscuits and gravy, cornbread. She did country fried steak. My granddad would do fried catfish, but she also did some Italian dishes. She would do carbonara. She had a great lasagna. She had an Italian dressing that everybody loved. So it's kind of a
That's
mixture of
awesome.
those two types of cuisine. And like for me, like looking at it now, there's a lot of similarities between Italian and Southern food. It's a lot of focus on quality ingredients and
Okay.
seasonality and attention to technique. And so for her, it wasn't really like Southern versus Italian. It was just how she cooked. So it was
Yeah.
just kind of a mesh of everything. But she was an excellent cook, and I definitely recall like being in the kitchen with her at a very young age and watching her cook and just being mesmerized by it.
That I like. If I could have a mix of Southern and Italian dishes for probably the rest of my life, I think I would be set. Like with just those two things, you know?
It's a good
That is
combo.
like, yeah, that's awesome. Um, but I do want to talk a little bit. I just brought it up about Lineage Culinary, your website, um, where you're kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but you want people to learn what it is to cook and what it means to like be in the kitchen, and what inspired you to have that website as kind of another project along with working for Cracker Barrel.
Sure. So that was a side project I started with my wife. My wife Lauren is a designer, so she helped me make the pages look pretty. And I really just wanted an outlet to teach. I like to teach people about cooking. I've always loved to
Oh yeah,
teach.
which makes
Kind of
sense.
going,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what you want to do.
yeah, going back to those early days, wanted to be a college teacher.
Yeah.
So I like, creating instructional videos and articles around food and the history of food and technique and kind of a place for me to geek out on food. And I just wanted a place to capture those things. Like we don't get a lot of traffic. It's not a profitable website, but
Yeah.
I go on there to get my own recipes. I'm like, how do I make this again? I'll go up there and pull up the recipe. And I wish I had time to devote more to it. There's a lot more I'd like to be on the site that's not, but we just do it when we have time. And hopefully one day I'll have a nice, fully built out recipe library on there.
Well, I gotta be honest. I stalked it a little bit. I think it's a really cool page. And you have one. I guess it's like almost a blog post, right? It's kind of like blog post on there, but instead of a wine tasting menu, you had like a bourbon kind of
Oh
tasting
yeah.
menu, and I thought that was I thought that was fun. So I I might have to take some tips and try something with that. Which bourbon kind of southern, or not even
Y-
kind of very southern. So you're really
Oh,
kind of tapping
absolutely.
into that with that too.
Yeah, bourbon's tough. It's not as easy to pair as like wine is with food. And I've done a lot of wine pairings in my career. Bourbon is very hot, very strong. So with bourbon, a lot of tips to that are doing it with something sweet, something that has like a high fat content, something that has chocolate, something that has smoke. Those things work really nicely with bourbon.
Really cool, really cool. We'll might have to give it a try. And look into that a little bit more. But Chef Jeremy, I want to talk a little bit too about your journey in the food industry. So, as you say, you graduated from Florida, go Gators, and then worked in Tampa for a little bit. But it hasn't just been Cracker Barrel in your career and your journey. So what has it looked like kind of being in the restaurant industry and moving around? Where all have you been and what have you enjoyed about that?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. I like I said, when I got in the restaurant, I knew I loved it. I knew I wanted to do it, and I was just like, well, I'll do this for a few years and then I'll go back to school. And
Yeah.
that was 26 years ago. So it's continued to be a great source of learning for me and something I've always been able to kind of move to something new and continue to grow. And I've been very fortunate. I've had some great leaders in my career that have taken me under their wing and took the time to mentor me. But I started out in operations and I worked in the Italian restaurant. And the funny thing about the restaurant I worked in, it's Carrabba's Italian Grill was my first real restaurant job.
Okay.
It's based around Johnny Carrabba and Damian Mandola, who are Sicilian and they're from Houston, and they have their grandmother, Johnny's grandmother, Damian's mother. A lot of their recipes are based on her food, and she did like a blend of Southern and Sicilian food. So I could like instantly connect to that food
Yeah.
for sure in the restaurant. But I did that for a little while and spent some time in operations. I did a regional training job, and then I moved over into the corporate side of the business. Carrabba's is owned by Outback Steakhouse, and their headquarters is in Tampa, which is where I was living. And
Yeah.
I transitioned over there into a supply chain role, and I was supporting the research and development team. And the research and development team was where they really were kind of studying and researching food, and it goes back to that desire of wanting to learn and wanting to teach and wanting to learn about subjects, but now my subject is food.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to work in R&D, and I waited until there was a position open, and it was a entry level specialist position in R&D. And I got my foot in the door there, and I worked my way up. I started out, as a specialist. And I was fortunate. I had some very talented chefs. Chef Jay Smith, he's with Wonder now, and then Chef Ephraim Coulter, who is the vice president of Bloom and Brands R&D. They took me under their wing, and they showed me how to be a chef. I didn't have the formal training, So they taught me how to build flavor, how to go back and understand the mother sauces, how to do the French techniques. And it took me a long time.
Yeah.
But over time, reading a lot of cookbooks and practicing and failing sometimes and winning sometimes, I was able to finally kind of get to a place where I kind of knew how to do it.
Hey, y'all, hope you're enjoying this conversation. It was such a pleasure to get to talk to Chef Jeremy. We talk, about his growing up, but also we really get into Cracker Barrel and the cool stuff that he's doing over there, which, as I said at the beginning of the show, you just really can't beat when you talk about Southern staples. So I hope y'all are enjoying it. If this is your first episode, go leave us a review. Go follow us on Instagram. Maybe you can follow us where you're listening to this. It just helps out a ton. And go listen to some other episodes. Chef Jeremy was a great example of a great guest that we have, but we have 20-something plus other episodes of awesome people from the South as we explore this great region through its people. So go give those a listen, and we'll get back to the show. Is cooking a part of your life outside of being like in a restaurant? Like when you go home, are you like, I want to whip up a great meal and I'm going to do this like, French technique sauce with it? Or are you like, just whatever we have in the pantry I can deal with?
No, I do love to cook.
Okay.
My wife doesn't like to cook. I think that's why she married a chef. So I cook dinner every night. I do like to cook on the weekends. I like to do something like tedious from scratch. Like I love to make pasta from scratch or make cornbread from scratch or, do something where it takes my hands and takes some time and technique. So I do really enjoy cooking as a hobby and as a career. So I've been very fortunate to be able to do something that I love, for this long, and be able to be involved in the restaurant business has been really fortunate for me.
And so with you talking about, working for Carrabba's and under that, Outback kind of brand, but then you get to Cracker Barrel. What was it that brought you to Cracker Barrel and wanting to work with, Southern food and Southern staples and the role that you're in now?
Yeah. So, I had a great career at Bloomin' Brands. It was awesome. I got to work on all the brands. I worked on Fleming's. I worked on Bonefish. I worked on Outback. That was a lot of fun. So
I frequented those restaurants too. So thank you very much for your work.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got a lot of learning, like different styles from all those different restaurants. And, but there was always for me this love of Southern food that I would do in my spare time. I would make it, on holidays. And I always loved Southern food because of the experiences I had growing up. So for me, with Cracker Barrel, it was an opportunity to work on Southern food professionally, which is something I always thought I would love to do. And when the opportunity came, I was really happy about that. But also I like the brand of Cracker Barrel a lot. I really like the image and the way that it connects people in a nostalgic way to the old time in the Southern, the old time Southern family meal. And, for me, I have a personal experience with that through my grandmother. Like her house kind of looked like a Cracker Barrel and the food was very similar. So I'm connected to it emotionally just from experience, but there's also, people that maybe didn't have that experience growing up, but they know somebody that did, or they saw it in a movie, or they just want to know what like Southern cooking is all about. And Cracker Barrel really provides that experience for them too. So I love that. And then probably the third thing was, my wife and I just had our son recently. He's 1.5 years old. And I just really love the idea of raising him in the South. Moving back to the South, I miss the geography and the seasons and being able to grow vegetables. And, I moved here to Lebanon, Tennessee, which is where Cracker Barrel's based. And one of the first things I did was build a vegetable garden with raised cedar beds. And, I want him to have the experience I had where he's, shelling black-eyed peas and we're pulling them from the garden and cooking them that day, so he can experience that too.
All right. So I want to pick your brain for a second then. It's, as we're recording this, it's like mid-April. My wife and I want to start a garden this year. We live in, I'm a Birmingham guy. What do I need to plant this year?
So I'll tell you, my experience in Florida was always very challenging. It was hard to grow anything there. So far, what I found experience with here, the snap peas are going in pretty good. The radishes are growing nicely. My lettuce is coming in pretty good. My carrots look all right. My green onions are struggling a little bit.
All right.
So those would be my recommendations for you.
Are you a tomato guy? I feel like with an
I love
Italian,
tomatoes.
like Italian influence from your grandmother, and also Southern influence, like you like tomatoes. You've got to be up your alley.
Oh yeah, tomatoes are coming. Those are going to be in the summer garden. I've got the summer garden planned out too. Tomatoes will be in there, eggplant, zucchini. Yeah, really look forward to growing tomatoes and making my own tomato sauce, and being able to make pasta for my son with tomato sauce we made together. I kind of see that as the future. Would be some fun activities.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so you were talking a little bit too about Cracker Barrel, just like as the place. Like it's like one of the most nostalgic places when you walk in. Like you're playing checkers, you're sitting there, and me and my cousins, because that was always like a family place. We're fighting on who gets to go next on the checkerboard. And then my grandparents too, like they would always. They'd get us all rocking chairs, and they'd buy them from Cracker Barrel for all the
Nice.
grandkids. So like it is just like a nostalgic place, to go. And I am kind of wondering, um, when you decided to go there and work for Cracker Barrel, was there anything, even though it's nostalgic, was there anything that you were like, I kind of want to get there and like shake it up a little bit? Were there any like dishes you wanted to add, do something different, to the classic Cracker Barrel?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think, the key to Cracker Barrel, you want to continue to do the staples that you've always done and honor those traditions and do them well. And I think there's always room to improve,
Yeah.
little tweaks here and there to improve quality, but, not drastically change anything. I'm not going to change the hash brown casserole. That would not be a good idea. But I think there are opportunities for new menu items or maybe limited time offers to do some new things to attract a new consumer and maybe put a new twist on some Southern classics. So I think there's kind of the balance of the legacy items that you want to honor tradition and then bringing a little bit of something new to the table. My team kind of works in both of those areas.
If I decide right now to just pack up and head to Cracker Barrel, can you build me like the perfect order that I need to place while I'm there?
Yeah. Oh, sure, sure. We'll go across day parts. So you got to have the pancakes.
Okay.
Cracker Barrel pancakes are excellent. I'm very, very proud of those. We work, we work with a place called Shenandoah Mills that's based right here in Lebanon, Tennessee. We've been doing business with them for 35 years, and they make our pancake mix, and it's an interesting mix. It's got some rye flour in there, buttermilk, and different seasonings and flours, and that rye gives it a little bit of a nice flavor to it and helps it
Yeah.
hold its structure. So it's you get some rise when you make the batter, and then when it hits the grill, that hot grill, the pancakes rise again. So you get that nice texture, and then the margarine that we put down on our pancake grill helps to create those crispy edges around the edge of the pancakes.
So good.
That give it the texture, and it's just like classic Cracker Barrel there. You got to have hash brown casserole,
You have to.
which is a cool like casserole version of classic hash browns. And I think for me, like, you want to throw in maybe a lunch item. I really like the catfish at Cracker Barrel. Just love the way the catfish performs. We do business with a company called Heartland Catfish, which
Nice.
they're a family business based in Mississippi,
Yep.
and Cracker Barrel's been doing business with them for 30 years. And they've, if you know anything about like catfish, like they feed on the bottom. So sometimes they can have, they're eating like mud and stuff from the bottom of the lakes, but they've developed a technique where the fish feed from the top. So it's a super clean eating experience, real high quality catfish. And when you pair that with our cornmeal butter, which is a full fat cornmeal butter, it's got a nice flavor from that full corn. It's excellent.
I gotta I gotta be honest, you're really good at pitching the dishes that you also helped to come up with. So hats off to you for that. I
Thank
um
you.
I grew up in the South. I'm a Southern guy. I went to school in Mississippi, and they love catfish. They
Yeah.
love
Oh
Heartland.
yeah.
Heartland's big in Mississippi. I have always been anti catfish because I find it uncomfortable that they feed from the bottom. So you might have just sold me on catfish now that I know that Heartland has this technique where they like. Literally was talking about this last night with my wife. She was like, "Why don't you like catfish?" I was like, "It just freaks me out." But if they are eating from the top, I guess this just has changed my whole perspective on on my eating experience now.
You're
So I
safe at
really,
Cracker Barrel.
yeah, I will have to go get some Cracker Barrel catfish. Um, I really struggle when I go to Cracker Barrel. Right at the beginning, you have a choice to make. Are you a biscuits or a cornbread guy?
That's a good question. I love both of them almost equally. I guess it kind of depends on what I'm pairing them with.
Okay.
It's hard to make a choice. I guess for me, if it's earlier in the day, I'm probably going biscuits, and then if it's a little later in the day, I'm probably going to go cornbread.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Are you ever dealing with the store part of the old country store at Cracker Barrel?
Yeah, yeah. It's not really huge into my area of responsibility, but I do try to pair with the retail
Okay.
side of it because I think it's fun when we can incorporate things in the food that you could also get in the retail space. So we
Okay.
sometimes bring in samples of like right now we're working on our holiday menu. So we're getting samples of like some of the holiday candy that you could have. Maybe it's topped on a dessert or maybe on a beverage or something. And then on your way out, hey, I want to buy some of that. You can go to the store and buy some of the product from retail. I think, Cracker Barrel is uniquely positioned as a restaurant with retail attached to it. That's part of the
Yeah.
whole experience. So I think it's important that we're, even in the food space, we're thoughtful about that as we innovate.
In college, my wife she had never gone to a Cracker Barrel, so I obviously took her one day, and I because I grew up going to them, and so you walk through the store and then you go into you got to go ask for a table and you sit down. The like shock on her face of like, wait, are we in a retail space and like having to walk through? But I think that's really cool that you actually like are mindful of what's in there to get to pair it. And you talked about the holiday menu. Is there any secrets you can spill for us on the Southern Fried podcast so we can get to know any secret holiday menu items coming up?
Well, we haven't finished it up, but we're definitely thinking about some country fried turkey,
Oh,
and probably some interesting spin on French toast. I don't know where the retail candy from the candy from the retail stores is going to land yet. We're still kind of in innovation there, but I have a feeling country fried turkey is going to play a role in our menu for sure. Which is
I
delicious. It's hand breaded and fried, and it's juicy on the inside with that crispy butter. It's a nice product.
I could eat country fried steak from Cracker Barrel like every day of the week. I mean, it'd probably be maybe not great for me. I'd have to mix in a salad here and there, but I think it's like the best thing. And so a country fried turkey does sound pretty good. I also and just appreciate you talking about the pancakes because if you're going to Cracker Barrel, you have to get those. So really really respect. But as we kind of start to get close to wrapping up, I do want to give you a chance to maybe defend some of your favorite Cracker Barrel items, and so I want to do a little this or that with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we get close to the end. So, I'm just gonna give you two menu items. You let me know which one you like better, and then we'll keep that one, and I'll throw in another, and we'll just kind of see what's left standing. And I am gonna I think give you a hard one to start for me at least: chicken and dumplings or country fried steak.
It's a hard choice. I do love both of those dishes. I also love that they're Southern staples. I think I go chicken and dumplings.
Okay, chicken and dumplings or hash brown casserole.
Dang. Okay. Another hard one. I
It's,
gotta
it's
go
gonna
hash brown casserole.
hash brown casserole, yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's iconic.
it's just so good. It's so good. Hash brown casserole or fried apples.
I'm sticking with the casserole over the fried
Okay.
apples. They are good, but
Hash brown casserole or you can't give this thing as a standalone. Apple butter with your choice of bread.
that's a tough one. It's good with the cornbread. It's really good in the biscuits too. I think it's a tough choice, but I think I'll probably stick with the hash brown casserole.
All right, hash brown casserole or pancakes.
Pancakes for me. I mean,
Wow.
It's funny. I'm not really a pancake person. My wife loves pancakes, but when I got to Cracker Barrel, obviously I started eating pancakes because we work on them a lot, and I'm hooked on them now. I really love our pancakes.
All right, final one: pancakes or biscuits from Cracker Barrel.
I'm proud of our biscuits. We make them in house, every day. But I'm going pancakes over the biscuits. That's gonna be my winner for sure.
Okay, pancakes came out victorious. I've got to say, the pancakes are delicious, and Cracker Barrel pancakes are what they are. But for me, that hash brown casserole is just like top tier, one of the best things you can get really at any place. So but I appreciate that it made a really good run in the this or that.
It was tough.
Yeah, it was tough. Chef Jeremy, usually I like to wrap up my episodes of Southern Fried with asking my guest a fairly simple question. And that's if you and I were to switch spots and you became the host of Southern Fried and you were like, I have to get somebody on this podcast, who do you think would make a good guest for the Southern Fried podcast?
That's a great question. For somebody that loves learning about food and studying food and learning about the history of food, I would say John T. Edge. I don't know him personally, but he started the Southern Foodways Alliance from Mississippi as an educator, and he's just got a ton of great articles and work that he's done, really telling the story of food and the history of the South through food, which I find really fascinating. His book Potlicker Papers is sitting on my bookshelf at home, so I think he'd be a really interesting interview for the Southern Fried podcast.
Are you a big fan of his show that he does on the SEC Network, True South?
No, I haven't seen it. I don't have the SEC Network.
Oh, okay. I gotta.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I've got to recommend. It's hosted by John T. Edge, and I think it's produced by Wright Thompson, who is another great Southern author and writer. But he goes around to different cities in the South and tries different restaurants, talks to different chefs. Yeah, you would love it. I can't recommend it enough. Yeah, it's really good stuff. Well, I really appreciate you joining me on Southern Fried, getting to talk a little bit about your life and about the Southern influences, but also to hear a little bit of how Cracker Barrel's played into that. So thanks for joining me today, and I appreciate getting to talk to you and meet you.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have a good one.
And that concludes this conversation of Southern Fried with Chef Jeremy. There's nothing quite like Cracker Barrel, and getting to have some conversations around that was a lot of fun. I, for one, can't wait to check out the holiday menu. I can't wait to see what he does with some of the candy in the store on the dessert. I'll be hitting that up. But thank you guys for listening. Thanks for supporting the show and continue to help Southern Fried grow. I love what we're building over here. I love what we're doing, and would continue to build it more and more with great guests just like we had today with Chef Jeremy. Thank y'all for listening, and y'all, come on back.